Kim Dynasty. The Kim Dynasty has ruled North Korea for more than 70 years. It began with Kim Il-sung, who took power after World War II and established a strict one-party state. After his death in 1994, leadership passed to his son, Kim Jong-il, and later to his grandson, Kim Jong-un. The family built a system centered on loyalty, military strength, and control over information. Citizens have limited access to outside news, and criticism of the government is not allowed. North Korea has also developed nuclear weapons, increasing global tension. Unlike most modern governments, power in North Korea stays within one bloodline. For decades, the Kim family has maintained control through authority, propaganda, and strict enforcement. Rothschild family. The Rothschild family began building its fortune in the late 1700s in Frankfurt, Germany. Mayer Amschel Rothschild developed a powerful banking network and sent his 5 sons to major European cities, including London, Paris, and Vienna. This allowed the family to finance governments, wars, and large infrastructure projects across the continent. By the 19th century, the Rothschilds were among the wealthiest families in the world. They funded railways, supported national banks, and influenced international finance. Their ability to move money quickly across borders gave them a major advantage during times of conflict and economic crisis. Over time, their wealth and influence sparked admiration, as well as conspiracy theories. Even today, the Rothschild name remains closely associated with global finance and historic economic power. Rockefeller family. The Rockefeller family rose to power in the late 1800s through oil. John D. Rockefeller founded Standard Oil in 1870 and quickly built it into the largest oil company in the United States. At its peak, Standard Oil controlled about 90% of American oil production. Rockefeller's business methods were aggressive. He bought out competitors, negotiated special railroad deals, and created a powerful monopoly. In 1911, the U.S. government broke Standard Oil into smaller companies under antitrust laws. Despite criticism, Rockefeller became one of the richest men in history. His family later invested in banking, education, and philanthropy. They helped fund major universities, medical research, and cultural institutions. The Rockefeller name remains linked to wealth, influence, and the rise of American industry. DuPont family. The DuPont family began building its fortune in the early 1800s after Eleuthère Irénée DuPont founded a gunpowder company in the United States. Over time, the business expanded far beyond explosives. By the 20th century, DuPont became one of the largest chemical companies in the world. The company developed materials that changed everyday life, including nylon, Teflon, and Kevlar. These inventions influenced industries from fashion to military equipment. During both World Wars, DuPont played a major role in supplying materials to the U.S. government. The family became one of the wealthiest in America and held strong influence in business and politics. While admired for innovation, the company has also faced criticism over environmental and health concerns. Even today, the DuPont name remains connected to industrial power and scientific advancement. House of Saud. The House of Saud has ruled Saudi Arabia since 1932. When Abdulaziz ibn Saud unified the region and declared the formation of the kingdom. Through alliances with religious leaders and control of key territories, the family established strong authority across the Arabian Peninsula. The discovery of vast oil reserves in the 20th century transformed Saudi Arabia into one of the wealthiest nations in the world. Oil revenue allowed the royal family to build modern cities, invest globally, and play a major role in international politics. Power remains within the extended royal family, with leadership passed among its members. The House of Saud continues to influence global energy markets and regional affairs, making it one of the most powerful ruling families in the modern era. Mughal dynasty. The Mughal dynasty began in 1526 when Babur defeated a local ruler and established control over parts of northern India. Over the next 2 centuries, the Mughals expanded their empire across most of the Indian subcontinent. Under rulers like Akbar, the empire became known for strong administration, religious tolerance, and economic growth. The Mughals built grand cities, forts, and monuments, including the famous Taj Mahal, constructed by Emperor Shah Jahan. At its height, the Mughal Empire was one of the richest and most powerful in the world. It controlled vast trade networks and diverse populations. Over time, internal conflicts and foreign invasions weakened the dynasty. By the 19th century, British rule replaced Mughal authority, ending centuries of imperial dominance. Medici family. The Medici family rose to power in 15th century Florence. To quietly control Florentine politics while officially holding limited public office. Beyond money, the Medici family became major supporters of art and learning. They funded artists like Leonardo da Vinci and Michelangelo, helping spark the Renaissance. Several Medici members even became popes. Their power came from both finance and culture. Though internal rivalries and political shifts eventually weakened them, the Medici legacy remains tied to one of the most important cultural movements in European history. Qing Dynasty. The Qing Dynasty began in 1644, when Manchu forces took control of Beijing and established a new imperial rule over China. Over time, the Qing emperors expanded the empire's borders, making it one of the largest in Chinese history. Under leaders like Kangxi Emperor, the country experienced stability, economic growth, and cultural development. At its height, the Qing dynasty governed hundreds of millions of people and controlled vast territories across East Asia. Trade with Europe increased, and Chinese goods such as tea and silk became highly valuable worldwide. However, internal rebellions, corruption, and foreign pressure weakened the empire in the 19th century. In 1912, the last emperor abdicated, ending more than 2,000 years of imperial rule in China. The Qing dynasty marked the final chapter of China's imperial era. Kennedy family. The Kennedy family became one of the most influential political dynasties in the United States during the 20th century. Their rise began with Joseph P. Kennedy Sr., a wealthy businessman, who built a strong financial foundation for his children's political careers. The family reached its peak of power when John F. Kennedy was elected president in 1960. His leadership during the Cold War and the space race made him globally recognized. However, his assassination in 1963 shocked the nation. His brothers, Robert F. Kennedy and Edward Kennedy, also became major political figures. The Kennedy name became linked to both power and tragedy. Despite losses and controversy, the family has remained active in American politics for generations. Mongol Dynasty. The Mongol dynasty began with Genghis Khan in the early 13th century. From the steppes of Central Asia, he united rival tribes and launched a series of military campaigns that changed world history. His armies moved with speed and discipline, conquering vast territories across Asia and into Europe. At its height, the Mongol Empire became the largest land empire ever created, stretching from China to Eastern Europe. After Genghis Khan's death, his sons and grandsons continued expanding the empire, dividing it into powerful khanates. Though known for brutal warfare, the Mongols also protected trade routes like the Silk Road, allowing goods and ideas to travel between East and West. Their influence reshaped politics, trade, and cultural exchange across continents. Ptolemaic Dynasty. The Ptolemaic dynasty began after the death of Alexander the Great in 323 BCE. One of his generals, Ptolemy I Soter, took control of Egypt and declared himself king. Although Greek in origin, the family ruled Egypt for nearly 3 centuries. They blended Greek and Egyptian traditions, building temples and supporting trade across the Mediterranean. The capital, Alexandria, became a center of learning and commerce. The most famous ruler of this dynasty was Cleopatra. Her alliances with Julius Caesar and Mark Antony placed Egypt at the center of Roman politics. After her defeat by Rome in 30 BCE, Egypt became a Roman province, ending the Ptolemaic dynasty and marking a major shift in ancient history. Borgia family. The Borgia family rose to power in 15th century Italy during the Renaissance. Originally from Spain, they gained influence through politics and the Catholic Church. Their most powerful member, Pope Alexander VI, became pope in 1492. From that position, he promoted his children and strengthened the family's control over land and wealth. His son, Cesare Borgia, became a military leader who expanded their territories through strategy and force. The family became known for ambition, political manipulation, and scandal. Although some stories about them may have been exaggerated by rivals, the Borgias became symbols of corruption and ruthless power. Their influence declined after political enemies gained control, but their reputation continues to shape how history remembers Renaissance Italy. Nehru-Gandhi family. The Nehru-Gandhi family has played a central role in India's politics since independence. It began with Jawaharlal Nehru, who became the country's first prime minister in 1947. He helped shape India's early economic and foreign policies after British rule ended. His daughter, Indira Gandhi, later became prime minister and led the country during times of war and political unrest. She was assassinated in 1984. Her son, Rajiv Gandhi, also became prime minister and was assassinated in 1991. Despite tragedy and political setbacks, the family has remained influential within the Indian National Congress Party. For decades, the Nehru-Gandhi name has been closely linked to India's leadership and national identity. Capetian dynasty. The Capetian dynasty began in 987 when Hugh Capet was crowned King of France. At first, the Capetian kings controlled only a small region around Paris. Over time, they expanded their authority and strengthened the French monarchy. What made the Capetians powerful was stability. The crown passed from father to son for generations, creating one of the longest continuous royal lines in European history. From this dynasty came later branches like the Valois and Bourbon families, who continued to rule France and other European countries. Their leadership helped shape medieval France, centralize royal power, and influence European politics for centuries. Even after the French Revolution ended the monarchy, the Capetian legacy remained deeply connected to the history of France. Tudor dynasty. The Tudor dynasty began in 1485, when Henry VII took the English throne after the Wars of the Roses. His victory brought stability to a divided country and established a new royal line. The most famous Tudor ruler was Henry VIII. His decision to break away from the Catholic Church and create the Church of England changed the country's religious future. His daughter, Elizabeth I, later led England during a golden age of exploration, trade, and cultural growth. Under the Tudors, England strengthened its navy and began expanding overseas. The dynasty ended in 1603, but its impact shaped England's religion, politics, and global influence for centuries to come.